morning, everyone. Well, Republicans' so-called crypto week has turned out to be a weak and embarrassing example of what trying to jam through dangerous pieces of legislation looks like. They dubbed this entire week Crypto Week, but couldn't even get all of their members on board because the bills aren't a big enough giveaway to President Trump. That's the bar now. If it doesn't enrich Trump enough or bend the knee to his latest scam, they're simply not interested. So, as part of the Anti-Corruption Week, my Democratic colleagues and I have spent all week highlighting how these crypto bills, particularly the Clarity and Genius Acts, or the Calamity and Unstable Acts, as we like to call them, are two of the most dangerous pieces of legislation that has ever been considered in Congress. Let's be clear, these bills are a gift-wrapped invitation for Trump to continue his full-scale crypto con. They don't protect consumers, they don't protect our national interest, they don't increase transparency. What they do is greenlight Trump's shady meme coin scam, which burned investors out of over $2 billion while inflating his net worth by $350 million. Pretty great return for the most crooked and corrupt president in this history. These bills gave him free rein to continue his world liberty, financial grift, and his shady stablecoin project, which has become a backdoor for foreign interests to buy influence over United States policy. These bills also help Don Jr., Eric, and even Melania keep their shady crypto side hustles. Altogether, Trump's crypto empire has netted him $1.2 billion, and now House Republicans want to make it easier for him to profit. If there's one thing we should all agree on as members of Congress, it's that there's no room for corruption anywhere in public office, and especially not in the White House. If we're outraged by Trump accepting planes from foreign countries, if we're disgusted by Trump turning the White House into a Tesla showroom, if we're appalled by Trump punishing former officials who oppose his 2020 election lies, then we should be wholeheartedly and unequivocally opposed to any bills that legitimize Trump actively building the most corrupt, self-dealing crypto empire this country has ever seen. Congress cannot enable this corruption from the president. Now, let's not forget, this comes just weeks after Republicans based a big billionaire bailout. These bills follow the same playbook, rig the rules so that rich get richer while hardworking Americans are left simply holding the bag. Just yesterday, Republicans on the House Financial Services Committee marked the 15th anniversary of the Dodd-Frank Act with a hearing. As you all know, Dodd-Frank was passed in response to the 2008 financial crisis, which was triggered by the rise of poorly regulated and risky financial instruments in our financial system. I will never forget the families who lost their homes, their jobs, and entire life savings. Many never recovered. It's absolutely appalling that Republicans are indeed repeating these same mistakes by attempting to deregulate crypto and usher in a catastrophic financial crisis. These aren't the only dangerous bills before us today. The House is also considering an anti-central bank digital currency bill, which I call the Anti-Innovation Act, which would immediately halt and prohibit the United States from exploring the potential benefits of a central bank digital currency. And the irony couldn't be more glaring The same Republicans who railed against a government-backed digital dollar in the name of freedom are now rushing to hand over the keys to America's financial future to Trump's illegal and corrupt crypto empire. So let me be very clear. A vote for these bills is a vote to give Trump the pen and write rules to help him put more money in his family's pockets. A vote for these bills is a vote for consumer and investor harm. A vote for these bills is a vote to plant the seeds for the next financial crisis. A vote for these bills is a vote to endanger our national security. Let's do it the right thing on behalf of the hardworking American families we serve. We vote no on these bills, and instead, Congress should pass my Stop Trump in Crypto Act. That it has filed paperwork with the SEC for approval to launch the crypto blue chip ETF this year. In the midst of all, a captured SEC has been dropping enforcement actions against bad actors in the crypto industry. The crypto bills Republicans are jamming through Congress do nothing to address Trump's crypto crimes. Democrats tried on multiple occasions to offer amendments to block these crimes, but Republicans and Trump rejected every one of them. And so, we're going to go through each of these bills, but at this point, I'd like to call on some of our members who are here today, who have been working hard, trying to put some guardrails on the crypto bills that are being ushered through by the Republicans. First, we'll hear from Congressman Lynch.
Okay, thank you, Maxine. Good morning. Thank you, Maxine, for your leadership on fighting against this crypto corruption. As the lead Democrat on the subcommittee on digital assets, I've, along with my colleagues, vehemently opposed Republican efforts to pass legislation that will have debilitating effects on our financial stability, our national security, and consumer protection. As a committee, we've learned that there is no legitimate use case for cryptocurrency as of yet, unless you count the illegal practices of every single ransomware heist that has been affected upon U.S. businesses have been fueled and facilitated by cryptocurrency. That should tell you something right there. It's a highly risky and volatile product that has no business in a functioning and well-regulated financial system. This entire industry is a scam designed to make a handful of wealthier early investors rich, including the president and his cronies. The value of cryptocurrencies is based on pure speculation. It's what the next fool believes it's worth, or whatever President Trump posts on Truth Social on a particular day. Republicans just rushed to pass a budget bill that would cut essential food and health care from their own constituents because President Trump demanded it, and demanded that they do so before July 4th. And now they have made cryptocurrency their top priority because they do not dare cross President Trump, who has a $620 million interest in the industry through his personal crypto ventures, including a $2 billion investment by Abu Dhabi. President Trump's conflicts of interest between his crypto business and his actions to deregulate the crypto industry are endless. Trump family members have engaged in talks to acquire a stake in Binance US, just after the SEC dismissed its charges against Binance and its founder. Additionally, an Abu Dhabi-based investment firm will be using Trump's stablecoin to make that $2 billion investment in Binance, making the stablecoin one of the top 10 in the world. While Republicans claim these bills will regulate the crypto industry, they are specifically designed to provide free rein into our financial system with no accountability or meaningful protections for consumers, national security, or financial stability. That's because this bill was written by the crypto industry. These bills include zero provisions to prevent the president, his family, or any public official from engaging in crypto businesses that are clear conflicts of interest. Think about this. We're allowing the President of the United States to dictate our economic policy and our financial system. This is a man who has claimed bankruptcy 6 times. He'll sell you a hat, he'll sell you a Bible, he'll sell you a t-shirt, he'll sell you commemorative coins, jewelry. This is pure hucksterism. This will not end well if we allow the president to dictate our financial policy, and it will certainly not end if we allow President Trump to guide the Federal Reserve, which is his goal now, to run out Jerome Powell and put somebody in there who will be a puppet on his behalf at the head of the Fed. Republicans refuse to include even a single Democratic change to protect the American people. And that includes amendments that would have prevented taxpayers from bailing out the crypto industry when it inevitably collapses. Amendments by Mr. Sherman of California and myself were a backstop. We said, if you're gonna take this risk, then you need to protect the American people. Put a provision in here that prevents crypto from being bailed out by the American taxpayer. Every single Republican on the committee voted against those amendments. They refused to protect the American people, the American taxpayer. Prior to the 2008 financial crisis, as Chairwoman Waters has alluded to, loose and reckless regulation allowed complex instruments such as consolidated debt obligations disguised as innovations to permeate our financial system. Americans were then left paying the tab, a $700 billion bailout to the largest banks who caused that problem. CEOs even received bonuses while millions of Americans lost their homes. Make no mistake, again, this will not end well for the U.S. taxpayer. These bills will lead to the next financial crisis, and we as Congress would have allowed it to happen. We would have encouraged people to invest in this technology and this cryptocurrency. The blame will be on those of us that support these bills. But when the crypto house of cards inevitably collapses, these Democrats behind me will be left to clean up the mess, and the American taxpayer will be left holding the bag. And I yield back. You have a list there? Okay, I'm sorry. I scooped that up?
Mr. Sherman.
Okay. I now yield to my friend from California, Mr. Sherman.
The grade I'm proudest of is to get an F from the crypto industry. So it will surprise you that I'm here to provide advice to Mike Johnson as to how to pass the rule and to get Democratic support for the rule, perhaps even my own. All he needs to do is put into the rule that none of these bills become effective until the Epstein files are released. I haven't provided advice to Mike Johnson before, perhaps he'll take it. But there are provisions. You don't have to just look at the bills, you have to look at what's not in the bills. There is something in the bill that says members of Congress can't sponsor a crypto coin. But it specifically says the president and the vice president and their families can. So what has Trump already done? With regard to TikTok, you may know that the law says that that should have been enforced a while ago. The folks behind TikTok putting $300 million into Trump coin. As you see, 6% of that money doesn't go to the Trump family, but 96% does. Then you've got Abu Dhabi announcing they're going to put $2 billion into Trump stablecoin. Now, if the stablecoin is on the legit, it is an interest-free loan. So this is the perfect bribe, because it means that Trump can earn millions of dollars every week because he has $2 billion in capital and is paying 0 interest on it. And then if he ever does anything that Abu Dhabi doesn't like, they can snatch their money back. It puts Trump on the Abu Dhabi payroll. So what else isn't in this bill? As Mr. Lynch pointed out, there is nothing in this bill that prohibits bailouts. You know this industry's gonna, your papers don't have enough room to cover all the crypto scandals. Now we're gonna have stablecoin in which they're going to go to investors and say, every stablecoin is worth $1. And we have the power in the United States Congress to make sure that if we screw up or steal your money on purpose, you'll be bailed out. If you have to wonder whether they have that level of power, reflect on the fact that crypto is the #1 industry by far in super PAC independent expenditures in the last election. You take all the independent expenditures of oil, add to that all of those of big pharma, multiply by 5, and that's still less than what crypto spends in the election. So they are proving today, when they got every Republican to vote against our amendment to say no bailouts, that they're setting it up for bailouts, and they're gonna use that as part of their marketing. The second thing that it doesn't do is prohibit the purchase of crypto with our tax dollars. Trump has already said he wants a strategic reserve of crypto, so he can buy an unlimited amount of Bitcoin or Trump coin. We're gonna leave that up to him. Now, the hypocrisy is evident, and I realize I've gone on too long. In that they're packaging this with a bill to prohibit the Fed from having digital currency. So they're gonna spend hours on the floor talking about how they're for innovation, and then pass a law prohibiting the federal government from innovating. The Constitution says currency is a matter for the federal government and for Congress. And yet, under this law, our currency will be George Washington technology, and the rivals will be electronic blockchain technology. So under this scheme, we've got the Chinese yuan can be digital. All the cryptos can be digital, and the dollar has got to remain exclusively on paper. So I don't have enough time except to say that this is the perfect device to facilitate crime, financial crime, crime in the suites. If you're a drug dealer, if you're in human trafficking, your #1 problem is how to deal with all that money. Crypto answers that. And more importantly, perhaps, in terms of dollars, is the market for crypto is tax evasion, the huge market. The first IRS commissioner appointed by Trump says there's $1 trillion of uncollected revenue, chiefly from the wealthy. That means they have to hide $3 trillion in income. That means over 10 years, they have to hide $30 trillion in assets. Crypto is the perfect way to do that. We're inventing a financial system for tax evaders, because every time a billionaire cheats on his taxes, a member of the Freedom Caucus earns his wings. Let me turn it on to Mr. Cleaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Chair. I grew up, we were not rich, we were in fact poor. We only had one television, black and white, but I could hardly wait on Saturday nights at 10:30 after the news for Tales from the Crypt. Ooh. And I'm going to try to revive that now, called Tales from Crypto from the Capitol. I think that we are clearly witnessing firsthand the first presidential rating of the U.S. Treasury. And we're just doing it like it's expected, and that it's okay. One of the things that I think I want to say, and I'm finished. 4 of us standing here were there on that Friday when Hank Paulson came over at the ordering of George Bush to tell us that the United States and perhaps the whole world was on the edge of an economic cataclysm. I mean, all of us, we didn't sign up for that. We survived, but we survived after a lot of crimes were brought forward. If we don't do something now, I probably won't be here. Maybe none of us will be here. But I can guarantee, if you let a crypto crook continue to have his way, another Secretary of Treasury will come over here to a future Financial Services Committee and ask for relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Diane?
Announce yourself.
Hello, my name is Juan Vargas. I'm a member of Congress from the 52nd Congressional District down in San Diego, California. And I want to thank the ranking member, Congresswoman Waters. She was working with the former chairman, McHenry, on a balanced stablecoin bill that was fair and that was enforceable last year. And they were making great progress. And all of a sudden, here comes Trump. Trump defunds the regulators, and he's trying to do everything he can to make money off of the presidency. And he found a great way to do it. He found a great way through crypto. As you've heard already, he's made hundreds of millions of dollars. He's set up what is really a bribe scheme to make money, and it's working for him. Now he wants us, the legislators, to provide him even a larger avenue to be able to steal. And we say no, hell no. That's why we're here. I don't know how many of you have heard of the Teapot Dome scandal. In fact, how many have heard of the Teapot Dome scandal? Okay, this is the modern Teapot Dome scandal. This is what you're going to read about in the history books. How this president stole from the American people right before everyone's eyes. That's what this is. This is a ripoff. And we're here to say, no way. We're going to fight like hell to make sure that that's not the case. Now, we're not against innovation or technology, just the opposite. We're in favor of that. But there has to be guardrails. There has to be regulations. There has to be protection for consumers. That's what we're asking for. That's what our ranking member was working hard on and making great progress until we got this corrupt president. And this corrupt president cares about one thing: making money for himself. Now, I did study to be a priest. I never became a pastor. I know the pastor here. But I did study to be a priest for a while, and I do love the Bible and know the Bible. And I know one of the things that the Bible says is it's not a Trump Bible. It's not the Trump Bible. But he's even making money off of that. So we cannot trust this guy, and that's why he made sure that in this bill, there's nothing that prohibits him from making money off of crypto and ripping people off, as he's ripping off faithful people selling that phony golden Bible. So again, I want to thank the ranking member and everyone else here for standing up to this very corrupt president. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Sylvia Garcia. I'm a congresswoman from the Houston area in the great state of Texas. And thank you, ranking member, for bringing this together. Let's be clear. What we're dealing with is the Calamity Act and the Unstable Act that were purposely built to help Donald Trump cash in and make more money. People in my district are struggling with the rising costs of Trump's big ugly bill. Healthcare premiums are set to go through the roof. And Republicans haven't said one word, not one word, about how they're going to bring those premiums down. All they want to talk about now is crypto. Why? Because they can profit off of it. It's about cashing in. These aren't crypto bills. I call them rhino bills. They're in regulation in name only. That's a new rhino for the rhinos. Because they can profit from it. It's about cashing in. They don't really care about the regulation. They just want to make it look like the regulation. So these aren't crypto bills. They are corruption bills. and they're rotten to the core. They include special exemptions that would let the felon in the White House freely peddle his meme coins and solicit investment in his so-called World Liberty financial token. Trump is listed as chief crypto advisor, not as our president, felon that he is, but as the chief crypto advisor on the company's website. Right alongside his son, his Middle East advisor, and a group of real estate investors. Let's not forget, Trump called crypto a scam until it started making him money. Now he's hawking coins and getting richer every day, while Americans worry about how to pay for their groceries and their gas. Congress cannot be complicit in this scheme. Is there anything Republicans won't do for this guy? This week, they're holding hearings to roll back the Dodd-Frank protections we put in place after the last financial crisis, as they set the stage now for the next one. The Calamity Act would allow everyday Americans to sink their life savings into risky crypto bets. No guardrails, no protections. The Unstable Act would expose investors and consumers to too many risks while doing nothing to address the clear conflicts of interest raised by the felon in the White House and his administration. It's reckless, it's dangerous, and a sham. Americans are already struggling. These bills prey on them even more. These bills look like regulation, but they are full of loopholes, waivers, and exceptions. This package has so many exemptions, there might as well be exemptions for the exemptions. So as I said, it's not really oversight, it's rhino, regulation in name only. If you're a parent, these bills make it easier for companies to target your 18 and 19-year-olds just as they're starting to earn, save, and invest. If your parents are retired, you should be worried their pensions could end up tied to crypto because these bills make risky assets look safer than they really are. Experts warn this could move $6.6 trillion out of traditional banks into unstable crypto platforms. That is really scary. That means less money for your local bank to provide an affordable car loan, lines of credit, loans for small business, buying a home, less money for what people actually want to care about and want to do. We should be focused on protecting families, retirement savings, and the stability of our economy, not helping the felon in the White House run his latest money grab scam. These bills are dangerous. This is legitimizing cryptocurrency, Ponzi schemes, and bribery and other bad acts. So look, y'all, remember this day. Remember this day, because if we vote on these bills today and they pass, there will be a documentary in a few years about the next financial crisis, and it will probably include this press conference, because it all starts today. Thank you, and I yield to my friend and colleague from New Mexico, Ms. Stansberry.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. I'm Melanie Stansberry, and I'm deeply proud to represent New Mexico's 1st Congressional District. Thank you, Ranking Member Waters, and to my colleagues here. And I'll start by saying I would be remiss if I didn't note that the Teapot Dome scandal happened in my district, in New Mexico's 1st Congressional District, and it's notable because today is the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the first atomic weapon before it was used in Japan on that very same community. 80 years ago, the United States tested its first atomic bomb in the Tularosa Basin, which is where the scandal just a decade earlier had happened, where lands were sold off for private profit. So let me start out by saying a simple truth that I think the American people understand. The system is rigged. And the way the system gets rigged is that rich people rig the system for themselves. And that is exactly what's happening today with this bill and the 3 sets of crypto bills that are before Congress. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And the way they do that is by lobbying members of Congress, giving them campaign donations, mobilizing people in their districts to vote for scams like this bill. Just 2 weeks ago, this Republican majority passed the largest tax break in American history for the wealthy. That bill, the big ugly bill, will make the rich in this country 4% richer, while it makes the poor in this country 4% poorer. And it does that by stealing your health care, stealing food assistance, stealing housing, and stealing the fundamental support programs that make it possible for working families to survive in this country. But guess what? Donald Trump doesn't care, because he's a con man. He's happy to tell you that he's going to save you money on groceries while the cost of groceries is going up at historic rates. Just yesterday, the Consumer Finance Index showed that the cost of everything is up. The cost of housing, the cost of groceries, the cost of basic consumer goods. And why is it going up? Because of Donald Trump's tariffs and the policies that he's pushing through this Congress. And now, as part of his larger crypto crime scheme, he is pushing to pass these 3 bills that, guess what, are going to make him richer and make the American people poor. That's what this is all about. Now, how are they going to rig this system? They're trying to pretend like this is a regulation bill. This is absolutely about deregulating the crypto market, dismantling protections for consumers, weakening oversight, massive loopholes for the worst possible actors, like Donald Trump himself. And it would leave consumers unprotected, fraud unchecked. It would hurt and destabilize the economy. And yes, at the end of the day, it will hurt working families. Because when the economy becomes unstable, guess who's okay? The rich. But who's not okay? People who are living on the edge. So it's important that we see this set of bills for what it is. It's a scam. It's an effort by those who want to take advantage of the financial system and hardworking Americans and your pensions and your paychecks and your investments and scam you. They want to scam you out of your money, they want to take it for themselves, and they're going to use Congress to do it. And every single one of these Republicans is going to be complicit in it. That's what's going on here. So folks need to wake up. Groceries are going up. Housing is going up, healthcare is going up, and they're rigging the system for themselves. And we're here not only to say no, but hell no, we're going to fight for our working families.
Wow. Thank you. Let me thank all of the members who have participated today. To the press, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard us describe what is going on in some very strong language. And this is rather unusual. Some of us have worked with some of the most conservative members of Congress over the years. We've never seen anything like this. Some of us have worked with several presidents. We've never seen anything like what is happening today. So if you're thinking, my goodness, some of the descriptions that are being given here about crypto and the President of the United States, Trump, is highly unusual. You're absolutely correct. And we're prepared to answer any questions you may have. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Fair
Please
Shake.
stand up and speak up.
Yeah, Fair Shake and its affiliated PACs announced yesterday that they have over $141 million in cash on hand. I'm curious how concerned you all are that Democrats who vote against these bills will be targeted in elections next November by Fair Shake and other PACs like this.
Repeat.
Yeah, Fair Shake.
And speak up, I got airplane here.
Yeah, Fair Shake and crypto PACs have over $141 million on hand.
Yes, that's right.
How concerned are you about the impacts of this on next November's election?
Well, let me just say this. The American people should be very much concerned about what looks like the buying of elected officials. They should be very much concerned about the announcements in advance of elections of how much money any one interest group will be able to use in these elections. That's an attempt to intimidate, but it is absolutely true as we watch what's going on now. And let me just say this. The President of the United States, if we don't stop him from ownership of crypto businesses, will be able to have unlimited amounts of money to place in campaigns. He doesn't need Elon Musk anymore. Elon Musk put in $300 million. That's peanuts compared to what he will be able to do if he continues to have ownership. He and Melania and the boys if they continue to have this kind of ownership, they will have unlimited amounts of money. So the American people should be concerned about whether or not they're going to be able to elect people that they believe will go to Congress and represent them in ways that would help them to have a decent quality of life, to help them to be able to have jobs, to have food on the table, to have a good education. They better be worried about whether or not they can simply do that, or have to be worried about whether or not they're gonna be bought out by some special interest group.
Maxine, if I can-
I think,
Maxine,
okay,
can I-
why don't somebody else call it, because I'm gonna mess this up. It's one of you two.
All right. Thank you, Ranking Member. Michael Jones from Once Upon a Hill. Several of you mentioned that these bills will lead to the next financial crisis, but a lot of crypto supporters, the reason that they support cryptocurrency is a response to the financial crisis and saying that big banks led to the financial crisis. What's your message out there to crypto supporters who are listening to you talk about how bad these bills are, but saying that they support cryptocurrency because of the last financial crisis?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the beginning, the premise of a lot of what people had in support of crypto was that it was gonna be decentralized.
Right.
But when you look at the way the crypto industry is right now, it's really controlled by a small cabal of people. So they haven't accomplished the decentralization that they thought they were getting. The other piece of this was, I think people assumed that there would be some type of accountability, either the SEC or CFTC, that would have a body of regulatory power that would allow them to protect investors. So that is not the case. So, you know, these bills and the ones previous to that strip the SEC of its enforcement power. We've seen Donald Trump instruct the Trump SEC and other agencies to drop the charges against these cryptocurrencies. So it's rotten to the core, and I don't think that the early advocates of crypto had that in mind.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go right ahead,
Okay.
stand there.
I think one of the things that's important to state here is that many of us are not anti-crypto. We're
That's right.
anti-deregulation.
That's right.
So what we're trying to do here is to make sure we're protecting American consumers. If you want to invest in crypto, that's great. That's your choice. That's what a free market economy is all about. But we have regulations in place to make sure that bad actors don't take advantage of investors. And what these bills are designed to do is to take the sidebars off that would allow bad actors to take advantage, like Donald Trump is doing right now. So this isn't anti-crypto, this is anti-deregulation.
Right.
The other piece that I want to respond to quickly is the political piece. In my home state, in New Mexico, thousands of my constituents are getting texts on their phones right now with my photograph asking me to vote for these bills. My constituents think that's weird. Why on earth is private corporations, a privately funded PAC, sending thousands of texts to New Mexicans on this set of bills? That's not normal. That is not normal. And the American people are smart. They understand the industry is lobbying. They're sending me texts asking me why a private PAC is sending them texts to their private phones that are not public. And I think all of this is going to backfire in the industry because it'll be very clear that they're essentially trying to buy deregulation.
Yes, sir, you're next. And then we're going to
Maxine,
the
can
next
I say
one.
something?
Yes, please, go right here.
As to the first question, crypto has been in my district. They've gone to quite a number of the local officials, offered them $10 to $15 million in independent expenditures to take me on. I'm proud to say all of them told them to go away. They'll find somebody, probably fly in somewhere from somewhere around the country, but crypto doesn't dare talk about crypto in any of the campaigns they're involved in, because people know they're promoting a scam. But they spend $41 million against Sherrod Brown, never mentioned crypto once.
Yes, sir.
Mark Sheff from CQ Roll Call. Republicans, again and again, in markups and hearings, have referred to 71 Democrats supporting the Fit 21 bill in the last Congress. In the votes this week, what level of Democratic support for the bills would you call a victory? I mean, where do you want to sort of cap it? And secondly, what would you say to the Democrats who are going to vote for these bills?
Well, let me just say, there's a lot of speculation about what the numbers are going to be, what the count is. We don't know for sure. We believe that, yes, certainly there are Democrats who support crypto, and some are saying there will be less number this time than the vote that you just referred to. So we don't know, but we know that we have the responsibility to unveil the facts about what is going on and to help educate. Crypto is complicated, and a lot of our members have not had the advantage of getting the detailed education, and the crypto industry certainly has not done that, have not shared with them the facts of crypto and what they're trying to do. And so we are doing what we believe legislators should do, and that is unveil the truth and let the shoe fit whomever wears it. That's what we're doing. All right? Yes, sir.
One thing I just want to add to put a sharper point on what Maxine has said. Every single Democrat voted for my amendment and Mr. Sherman's amendment to prevent a crypto bailout. So every single Democrat voted to protect the American taxpayer against a crypto bailout. I'm very proud of that fact. Regardless of where they stood, they recognized the risk here, and they said, okay, whatever happens, we want to protect the American taxpayer from having to bail out the crypto industry. I'm proud of that, and every single Democrat, that was unanimous on our side, and of course it was unanimous the other way as well. Every single Republican on the committee voted not to protect the American taxpayer. So that's a clear distinction, and I agree with Maxine that we'll have fewer, because of things like that, we'll have fewer Democrats support this than were voting yes on the Fit 21 Act.
Thank you. To the second row, and then we're going over.
Hi, I'm Sam from Notice. I just wonder, you guys have used very strong language indeed to refer to the Republicans who are supporting these bills. 18 Senate Democrats voted for the Genius Act. There are sponsors, Democratic sponsors for many of these bills. I just wonder, are they also complicit in corruption? Would you go that far?
Well, I'm going to call on any of the members to respond to that, because we did not say at any time in this press conference that anybody who votes for crypto is corrupt. Let us make that very clear now. Please, anybody else want to respond?
I've spent decades, as has Maxine and others, on the Financial Services Committee, so we get involved in the details. Crypto tells a really nice story and then shows you a whole lot of political power. And if you don't look at what crypto means, if you don't realize that, and I used to head the second largest tax agency in this country, that if crypto ever became a currency, it is literally hidden money and will never be able to enforce the income tax law except on wage earners. I don't think that message gets out because of the enormous amount of power that the crypto industry has. It's a shiny penny. You don't have to be corrupt, you just have to not have spent the time that that we on the committee have spent.
Next.
I'll add one more
Yes,
thing,
please.
if that's okay. All we have to do is look at history to tell us what could happen. Look at the 1920s, tariffs, deregulatory policy, putting into place so-called structures for regulation that wrote into the law loopholes. All of that is what led up to the market crash in 1929. And that is why we actually have an SEC, why we have regulatory bodies, why we have in place protections to not only protect individual consumers who want to engage in risky financial practices, but because the entire market could be destabilized. And so what we're talking about here is it's not just the potential for bad actors to take advantage of the system because the loopholes are written into the law. The public responsibility here is to stabilize the financial system because it affects everybody. It affects our entire economy, it affects every person in the United States, and it affects every single person on planet Earth who participates in the monetary system. So that is the public responsibility here, is to protect the system.
Thank you. And again, we have not referred to all that vote for this bill as corrupt, but we are absolutely clear the president is corrupt. Clear about that. Yes.
Claire Williams with American Banker. I was hoping to talk a little bit more about the bailout amendment and the provisions in the bill. Can you all walk me through in the parent and market structure and stablecoin, what happens if a stablecoin issuer fails? And where is that money coming from? Is it coming from a Fed liquidity facility? Is it coming from the FDIC DIF? Walk me through the steps that might happen there.
Two amendments got total support among the Democrats on the committee, completely rejected by Republicans. One of those was to say no taxpayer money will be spent buying crypto, including Trump coin, and the other, which you refer to, no bailouts. We have seen what happens when money market funds get in trouble. And that trouble was down to, the money market fund's assets are down to 99.999 cents. And they rely upon the Fed for a bailout. There are a number of provisions in our law that allow, in emergency circumstances, bailouts of financial institutions. And we've seen a president stretch whatever is in a statute to do whatever he wants to do. So we needed an absolute prohibition on bailing out, particularly stablecoin, but the other crypto investments as well. And I believe it's 13.3 of the Federal Reserve Act, but I could be, is one of the provisions that would allow for a bailout under some circumstances. And that's without even stretching the statutes as Trump is wont to do.
Next question.
Let me just follow up on that, because there's one other amendment. So remember as well that when Trump came into office, they basically, their SEC basically said they're no longer, they rescinded the guidance that said to banks, be very careful about holding crypto assets. That was to our traditional banking system. So SAB 121 basically said, stay away from crypto, volatile, and if you do something like that, if you do have custody of crypto, that's got to be reflected in your reserves. You've got to pump up your reserves because of the risk. So they went through that. So now they've signaled to the banking industry, you can do this now. You can engage in crypto. So they're increasing the risk. The second amendment that I had on this bill was any crypto issuer who receives any type of government assistance on a bailout or support immediately has to go dark for 1 year. And we'd have a full investigation of that cryptocurrency issuer. And so we get to the bottom of that before they're allowed to put the lights back on. So that was one as well that every single Democrat voted for and every single Republican voted against.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap up soon, but I do wanna take the hands that were up. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You mentioned in your opening statement about these bills being a vehicle for foreign influence. So what do you mean by that? Can you be more specific? Can you give us some sort of example? What do you mean how these bills can help foreign governments, have access to President Trump and influence the politics?
But generally, what we're talking about is this. It was mentioned that I and others had worked, for example, on stable coins for a long time. You'll hear the reference to trying to do everything that we can to have guardrails. And so these bills go in the opposite direction to keep us from having the kind of guardrails that are needed in order to make sure the investors are protected. And so we've worked very hard. As a matter of fact, one of the big struggles was between the SEC and the CFTC and who was going to have the regulatory responsibilities. We have worked very hard with the SEC, who had filed lawsuits against many of the big crypto firms that were already being fraudulent as it relates to SEC laws, and they did not want that at all. And so we are not adamantly opposed to looking at some instances where we may work with the CFTC because of commodities, but securities, as we have worked with the SEC, is absolutely similar to what should be done with crypto, and that's in both of the bills in some way.
Can I take that?
One, yes, sure.
Trump's first term, we're all worried that a foreign interest would book a ballroom in one of his hotels and give him $100,000 for it. That is such chump change. As I said earlier, $300 million from Chinese interests associated with TikTok goes right into Trump coin.
Yes.
So he makes the Trump coin the way you print up Monopoly money, only he does it electronically, and he gets $300 million from it, and he announces that he's not enforcing the TikTok law. Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, once influence, they put $2 billion into the Trump stablecoin. That's an interest-free loan. If you can borrow $2 billion interest-free, that's like getting a gift of $1 million, $2 million a week. So that's just what's disclosed. Cryptocurrency is literally hidden money. So all you have to do is not make the press. Just go to Trump and say, hey, we're the ones who bought another $1 billion worth of Trump coin. 96% of that money went right into your pocket. Now let's talk foreign policy.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up by thanking you for being here and hoping that you were able to glean something from this press conference that will help you to do your work and write about what you're learning that perhaps had not been exposed to you before in ways that would help you to be able to write about what you're kind of hearing. I will conclude this by saying that the President of the United States and the Vice President, the only ones that can own businesses, not members of Congress. It's very strange that you would have in legislation that the President and the Vice President of the United States can own cryptocurrency, not members of Congress. I have an amendment that I tried to get them to accept that would have excluded the President and the Vice President and the Cabinet, and all members of Congress could not get one vote on that. And this is very serious. And so, yes, we will be going to the floor today to talk more and more in depth about the Genius Bill that you referenced and the other bill. So thank you all for being here, and we'll see you later on today. We'll be on the floor, and we hope you'll be up there in the gallery writing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Maxine.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you want to show